Norma Jean fans, welcome. We're about to do the Break It Down podcast exclusively on your channel. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. All right, so let's start it. This is the Break It Down podcast with Cory Brandan, Season 4, Episode 1.
Break it down, Dada.
Break it down, oh, break it down. 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 That's right.
Let's make color.
Yeah. All right, welcome to the Break It Down podcast, Season 4, Episode 1. I've been on break, but we're back, and we're back for real and in a new way. Obviously, it's almost like a little TV show here. Not exactly a TV show. It's still a podcast primarily in nature, but I'm going to be doing the bonus video here. It's going to be, you're going to see the show as it's being made. I'm going to try and do the intro in real time and the guests. If we have any ads or sponsors, I'm going to try and keep all that in the moment. I just like doing things live, and being able to add video and do this thing on Facebook has been a blast. So we're very thankful to Norma Jean and their Facebook page for hosting us today. This is a great opportunity, and I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll even take some questions from Norma Jean fans for Cory later. So I'm going to talk to Cory here just in a second, and if you have some questions, we'll try to catch those later. So we've got some clips from some Norma Jean songs from their new record, Polar Similar, that's going to be out on September 9th. And we're going to discuss Cory's other project, which is currently crowdfunding, called 100 Sons. So if you want to support this show, or if you're interested in this show at all, go to my website, breakitdownpodcast.net. Is that right? Breakitdownpodcast.net? Okay. And over there, you can find everything you want to do. You can subscribe to this on iTunes there. You can play all the old episodes, stuff like that. And there's even a link to shop on Amazon, which directly supports this show. And I appreciate it so much when people bookmark that link, and then whatever you buy through Amazon, it'll support this show. Again, thanks to Norma Jean fans. And Cory, thanks to you for doing this episode 1 of this season in this fashion. Thanks for being guinea pig and
dude, this is awesome. This is really cool. I tested out the live Facebook thing the other day just to see what it was like. I think I did a terrible job. And I think I held the phone like really close to my face. Yeah. I probably looked like a big idiot.
Well, the thing about that Facebook thing is it's just like, it's an unbelievable technology and function, and that they have that infrastructure and all the algorithm built in, but it's really hard to know if you turn your camera on you by yourself and feel like you're talking to hundreds of thousands of people, or even if it was dozens of people, of course you're going to feel silly or dumb, you know?
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. So most of the time when I see people and then they're in their car and all they're doing is reading the comments, and you know, it can be a really uncomfortable medium. But on the other hand, I think it's like the ability, it's up to us. It's up to people like you and me to figure out what can we do in this format, because it's essentially free to use. So it seems crazy not to figure out how to do something other than a goofy studio update once in a while or something like that. And that's what this is an experiment in. So
this is cool. This is awesome. Like it's like you're watching a TV show live on Facebook. So like you said, like a TV show. So
it's kind of like a TV show.
It's cool.
Like
we have our own channel.
Public access TV, though. It's kind of really more.
That makes it cooler. That makes it cooler. Like, I just got more stoked that I'm on Wayne's World.
Think of it as Wayne's World. This isn't a CNN show with a talking head.
Yeah, no.
But we're in the basement in Aurora, Illinois. But you are in, where are you, in Arkansas?
I'm in Arkansas, where I live at my home on my land, in our practice space / studio.
Good. You were building it last time that we talked. It was when you were on BadChristian podcast. You had just built that, or were in the process of doing that. But it looks great to see that ductless, or that 2-stage air conditioner back there. Those things are awesome.
That sucker is a lifesaver.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, totally awesome. Yeah. So you grew up in Arkansas and still live there.
Yes.
You mentioned your parents being close by earlier today. So you basically live where you grew up?
Pretty much, yeah. We moved around a little bit when I was really young. I was technically born in Oklahoma City, and we moved around here and there. At one point, I lived in North Carolina in Winston-Salem, and for like a year when I was in like 5th grade or whatever. But most of the time, we always came back to Arkansas, and eventually, this is a weird word to say, but settled here.
Sure.
When I was around 11 years old, in 6th or 7th grade. So, yeah.
The thing I think is
Arkansas.
interesting about that is it seems like it would be harder to get an art and music career going living in Arkansas. And there's so many people that they do, like, for instance, I grew up in a real small town, South Carolina, moved to Seattle to start the band, Emery, and made all my relationships and did everything through that. And so I have this filter of thinking, how could anybody make it? How could they ever get anywhere if they stayed in their hometown? To me, it just seems like how it would. I know for a fact it would never. Nothing would have ever happened for me if I'd have stayed where I'm from. So I wonder how that plays out. I have a friend who's a comedian, and he's been. I'll say his name. I guess it would be good for him. His name is Jason Farr, but he's in the town I grew up in. He's been doing comedy for like 10 years there, and I'm like, you've got to leave, dude. You got to leave if you want anything to happen. I just found out he's leaving, and I'm like, yes. Good for you. I always think it's great when people take chances, and moving away from your home is a hard thing to do. But how were you able to do that? How did it unfold for you that you could do that without having to move to a big city or something?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that. I mean, essentially you do need to leave, but you don't have to uproot necessarily. I mean, if you're in a band, you have to go on tour. You have to get in front of different people. That's basically leaving.
I see what you're saying.
The only thing I always saw living in Arkansas as a plus, because we're right smack in the center of the South, and I mean we can go east or west is the same direction no matter where we go. So it's very centrally based, and we were able to capitalize on that and play all over it, and save a lot in travel expenses, honestly. So yeah, I mean. You would think that, but if we just stayed here and played only in Arkansas, sure. I mean that's bad for anybody. I mean that's bad for a band from LA.
Yeah, totally. You don't have any regrets about ever moving or living somewhere else?
No, not at all. I love it here. It's beautiful. It's undeniably beautiful. I think it's it's called the natural state for a reason. I always tell people just imagine, any city, except we don't cover everything in concrete. We don't cut down. I mean, I went to the local school here for a long time. There were trees in the middle of the school. You walked in and you were kind of in the locker area, but there was grass and trees just growing out, and you were just outside, even though you were inside the school. So it's very beautiful. It's natural, the natural state. So I love it here. It's a great place to call home and come home to. And the thing is, with being a musician, you get to travel and see all the other cool cities and places. So
but that's what trips me out is though, and don't take offense to this, but there's a lot of people there's a lot of people who've traveled through there that don't necessarily go, oh, this is it. It's not some special place. It's just what's home to you. And I think it's weird because it's different, because you've been to New York City a million times. You've been to San Diego 57 times. You know what I mean? You've been everywhere a lot, and you still have this opinion. So I can respect that. But every place I've ever been, I meet people and they say, this is the best place in the world. And it's a tiny town in the panhandle of Oklahoma. And they swear that it's the best place ever. I said, well, have you ever really been anywhere else? And it's like, well, we went to the beach once, took a senior trip to Mexico once, or something, nothing. But they swear it's the best place ever. And I think, well, you don't really have the perspective. But I understand. But if that must be the reality. If you feel
I'm not trying to
maybe
say
that's more important. And then
I'm not trying to say it's the best place in the world, but like you said, people drive through and they don't think this is it.
Yeah.
When I drive through, I do think that, and the thing is, me growing up and wanting to be a musician has always been kind of a thing since I can remember. But traveling wasn't really part of that.
Right.
I didn't even think about it. A lot of people say oh, I want to travel and see the world. I never said that or wanted to. Really? It was just didn't really cross my mind.
So you didn't.
I wanted to be a musician, but I didn't want to travel. It came with the territory. Yeah. So I've really kind of even grown to love it more since that. I imagine though, if you do live here and you're and this is your home, and you haven't been in it, I can see how anywhere can become like kind of dismal or I do think everyone should kind of get out and see some things. Everyone. So I don't know. It depends on who you are.
And you're always wanting to do music, but also you're an art guy. So I mean, you were spending time drawing and that kind of thing too, right? Growing up.
Yeah, for sure.
And you do both professionally too, right?
Yeah. I've done graphic design for years. I don't really do it anymore as much. It kind of became a very backseat thing, and now that I'm literally in 2 bands and everything else that I've been doing and trying to get the studio going, I haven't had time for it at all.
But to me, you like for instance, I was watching your documentary today, The Luminaries. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was looking at that today, and in the credits, you're art director, and I look at your website, like 100 Sons stuff, Norma Jean stuff, and you I know that you've got your finger on that stuff. I'm not saying you did all the art and all the design, but to have an art guy and a design guy, with his finger on the stuff from his music and creative stuff is very important. And to me, it's really, really noticeable as somebody that's not talented or doesn't understand or doesn't have any visual or graphic skills. I was always astonished at that, being in a band where I thought it was all about the music. And then it's like, okay, well, now you got to do album covers and videos and photo shoots. And I'm like, and everybody thinks, how are they going to express themselves this way? And I decided, I have no idea. How would I know what looks good on a print on a CD cover? Until we had to make our first album cover, it never crossed my mind that somebody would expect me or us to know how to do that or even weigh in on whether it was good or not. And so for you, it's a lot better because you have this whole aesthetic care about everything, and I think it crosses from the music into the visual stuff.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. Is music is definitely a form of expression, but the art, making some kind of a visual to go along with that has always been very, very important to me. In the band, I want it to match musically what we do. Artistically in all fashion, even to the live show, we kind of wanted to match. I mean, even doing Redeemer, if you remember, if anybody remembers, we did this whole dirty thing where we just got dirty before every show, and all our cabs were tilted, and it was just this messy looking setup. And then when that record cycle was over, we stopped doing all of it. We got rid of it. We didn't want it to be like a gimmick or anything or a constant thing. It really is about kind of finding what's best for that era of music or that record specifically. And so, I mean, with the new record, Polar Similar, I did design the cover and had a lot of direction with the rest of the layout, along with Donnie Phillips, who's really talented and did a great job on the overall layout. But it's just one of those things. Once you get something in your head, it's really hard to forget it.
Yeah.
And on this record, we actually tried to hire out early, really early, because I was like, man, as soon as we figure out something that we want to see, we're going to not hate, but we're not going to like anything that comes in because it's not going to be that.
Right. So
it ended up, that didn't work out. So we ended up kind of making our own artwork again anyway.
Yeah. And the whole thing is a spirit of do it yourself, because it just always, this sounds cynical or something, or maybe I just can't get it figured out, but everything goes better if you have the ability to do it yourself. And it sounds like I don't trust other people or working with people I do, but if you know how to do something or what your vision is for it, that's 80% of life. A lot of people don't have any clue or any vision or something they want to do. So if you know what's going to be good or bad, and you can do it yourself and have those skills, if you can have a background in some of the peripheral things, your career is going to go better. And I guess it plays into that whole thing of investing in yourself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I know people that do investment and stuff, and they're just it's whatever to invest in companies or stocks. It really seems to be the smartest investment to invest in your band, your career, businesses that you have a stake in, something you have a part in, your personal development, and those kinds of things. So I think that's really weird, and I do think that that's tell me if you think this is a stretch, but is that kind of thing not maybe a component of what has given you and Norma Jean the longevity that you have? Are you do you identify as a very do-it-yourself kind of crew and band?
Absolutely, absolutely. I can honestly say that everything you've seen on stage with Norma Jean, to production of our records, building this studio is with our own hands. We are a completely DIY band. Besides the fact that we've been on some amazing record labels to help us fund our records, because ultimately, at the end of the day, like I don't have, a ton of money to spend all at once on a record.
Yeah, definitely. What's your least favorite industry? I'm not trying to trap you here. I'll volunteer any information on myself. But what is your least favorite cog in the middleman industry wheel? You know what I mean? If you're going to talk about agent, publicist, business manager, people, managers,
I've never even
agents.
thought about that. I've literally never even thought about that ever. But
I'm saying you're a DIY stuff, and you probably function without all of. You don't have a publicist year round, for instance. Probably, right?
No, we don't. We used to do that kind of stuff, and I kind of feel like. Really, the only thing that happens with all that is it just slows things down a little bit. Yeah. But I don't. There's kind of a good thing to that to me. Like that team of people that all those people that you're talking about.
Those things though, that's what I'm kind of interested
in.
For
sure.
You have a manager.
Yes, we do have a manager. We didn't for a while, and we just hired one last year. It's Tom. Who's the guitarist for Straight from the Path?
Cool.
Is our manager, and he's amazing.
Business manager.
Yes, accounting and stuff.
Yeah, booking agent.
Booking agent, yes, of course. But we were kind of in limbo with all those things for a while. And when I think DIY, I think about what we do as artists. Those are things that we don't know how to do very well. I can book a show for sure. I could book a tour. I did for a while. And I think a lot of fans will remember me posting on Facebook, hey, we're looking for shows here and here and here.
That's what
and
I'm
we
speaking
booked
of.
entire tours.
That's what I'm referencing. I remember that being the case.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, right now, like we definitely have gotten back to a point where, I guess what I was getting to was basically that team of people is invaluable. Just having people at a record label that are waking up every day and thinking about your band and what they can do to invest in the record that they also invested in, and get it out to people. That's amazing. That's insane. Like, I think I'm not the only person doing this, but I've always kind of considered those people less of like employees or kind of that kind of thing, and more of like sixth members of Norma Jean. And that's how we've always treated those kind of people. Like, we want to work with people who are the most excited about what we're doing just as much as we are excited about doing it.
But that doesn't always happen. I mean, you've certainly had more than one manager and more than, you know what I mean? Like there is the part first of all, even band members obviously turn over. Norma Jean, Emery's no exception to that. But your team, if you're going to be a band as long as you have, you do have to have the sense to know how to manage a team, run a team. Essentially, you wind up being the CEO, and you've got these other people that are staff. And there always is going to be changes in that kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, every band has some pretty awkward transition stories of one manager to the other, and that kind of thing. But
there's so many weird stories that come into play there. I mean, our old management company, great people, and I don't think we've had any like crazy like bad falling out stories with anyone. It's always been kind of a natural thing, like. Something has come along better for this person, even down to previous members of the band. I can't say that it was like this total like crazy thing. Not to me anyway. Yeah. But our old management company was also managing Skrillex, and before anybody knew who that was. And of course, now everybody who just heard that name knew exactly
I know those,
who that
I know
was.
Who you're talking about. I know those
So,
guys and everything.
you know,
And they still have Skrillex. They still do.
And
that
they're
now?
just great. Yeah, and they're really, really super close, great friends of ours. But I mean, honestly, they just don't have time for us anymore.
Yeah,
and they're kind of out of the rock and roll world too.
Yeah.
So we really needed to find someone who got that and it was excited and we wanted a young guy who gets the business and the art side of it and everything that we want to do. And you know, we looked for that guy. Yeah. Whoever was the most excited to do that and wanted to be there, that's who we wanted to work with.
Yeah, we've had the same thing where it was like the company or whoever was working for us started doing bigger and better things than us, to where, you know, we've been dropped by booking agents.
Peace.
And, they're like, well, I don't think I'm the most help for you anymore.
Like, sorry.
You would be better off to fire me and get another booking agent. You know, that kind of. But as far as people have had to fire, we fired probably two lawyers before, and that's the only ones that have gone bad. I don't know if it's something about lawyers or if it's a stereotype or whatever, but I fired 2 lawyers before, and they both flipped the fuck out when I fired them, for sure. It's just, I don't know why, but that's
kind of weird for a lawyer to get super emotional like that. Like, so dude, chill out.
We've had 3 lawyers, and 2 of them eventually, when we moved on, and I told them for whatever reason it was, and they just, I mean, it was totally like, you know, they threw a fit. But anyway, it happens. But my point is, Norma Jean has been around for so long, and that is very rare. Like, it just really is rare. I mean, to have 6 or 7, this is the 7th record coming out, would be Polar Summer,
7,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that in itself is so rare, right? I mean, what's the deal with that?
Yeah. The way I've always kind of thought of this band, I think even I remember when I joined in 2004, we went straight into writing "Oh God, the Aftermath,"
which was record 2, technically.
Record number 2, yeah. And we went straight into writing that record, and you know, and it went on a little bit, and then, you know, a member left, and I remember that first conversation when somebody left, and like, what do we do? You know, like, how do we want to go about this? And we just thought about it like, okay, well, you know, let's find someone that's like-minded in the music that we're into, and it's just a really good friend of ours that fits this you know, collective of people, and that conversation to me is very, very relevant to Norma Jean today. I consider Norma Jean to be a long-standing collective of musicians and friends, where association is flexible, creative direction is flexible.
It seems that way from watching the documentary.
And it's less of a band where it's like, hey, here's 5 faces that you have to associate with somehow, like that makes sense, with this music. And I feel like that idea that I just said was something that was made up by a record label in like the 30s or 40s, whenever boy bands were invented, maybe the Beatles, and to market music to people. You know, here's some faces. They're going to look like this. They're going to have this gimmick thing about them. They're going to dress like this. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
You mean as opposed to the music itself just being a product?
Right. Now you have a group of people that have this thing, and you associate with yourself with there's an image.
Right.
And that same philosophy or cornerstone, if you want to say, or marketing plan is still being used to this day. Look at these guys, and then in a sense, basically, we've come so far now especially with social media. I mean, what we're doing right now, like where people are more loyal to the people and less loyal to the sound that's coming out.
Okay, so I'm glad you're saying that, because I've got a lot of questions and stuff. I mean, it feels to me like you're almost developing or have a pretty well-developed philosophy, and that's what I was really picking up from the documentary about what is the music, why is the music, who owns the music, who defines what it is. There's really a lot there. And so one of the things I was getting that knowing you, seeing your band, I've been a Norma Jean fan since '99, probably, personally.
Yeah.
So I've seen
Me too.
Yeah. So, you know, I've been around for this whole thing, and the thing that you're saying, I think, right there, and in the documentary, is that the people making the music, here's the big theme. Tell me if I've got this wrong, but when you've created the art and the art is out there, it doesn't belong to the creators, and it almost doesn't matter who they are anymore. Is that right?
They're basically irrelevant at that point.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That's actually more extreme than I've ever heard it said or said it myself, because I'm of the same mindset, 100%. But the irrelevant is a very strong word there. You're saying
it is.
The writer of those lyrics on that song is irrelevant once the song exists at 40, 44.1 hertz.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way for every band, though.
Okay,
that's the thing. Like a lot of bands kind of based on that same construct, and you see where it is now today. Mm-hmm. You see where it is, where it's like it's just like shock rock and an image and this kind of overall plan of here's how you look. Here's the guys in the band, and they'll do almost anything they can to stay together, even if they don't like each other,
right?
Or even if they're making bad art together. And to me, I'd rather let it shift in its own way, and then even the lyrics, even though those songs are about personal things to me, basically I become irrelevant to the listener. Because imagine, okay, if you got this sound sat in front of you, someone put the speaker in front of you, and Norma Jean came out of it, but you didn't know who it was.
Right.
Do you like it or not?
Okay, which
you know what I mean?
I mean, I can answer that question very easily, because when I first heard Norma Jean, I didn't know who was in the band.
Yeah,
I sure as heck didn't know. I just heard sounds and I evaluated them and said.
And then I think when on top of that, even lyrically, even more so, because I want people to listen to the songs that and the lyrics that I've written and interpret them however they want. That's what I did when I was growing up.
Some people argue the opposite and say the lyricist holds the meaning to the song, and you can interpret it wrong or right. And I think that's what I'm
disagree.
I'm with you. It just is, and then you decide what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is true, but it also kind of ruins it for listeners. So I kind of sometimes don't like saying what songs are about, because I know for me, growing up, and I'm going to use, I always use this band for some reason, even though they're not like probably even in my top 10 favorite bands. But I remember specifically this revelation happening with this band, Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah,
they put out
probably close to top 10 for me, but
they're so good. Well, Purple came out,
totally.
Which is an amazing record. It is, but that first song, I was like, man, I just feel like
plow.
Yeah, I was like, man, I think this song is about me, and I was just sold on that, this song. And I listened to it all the time. I was like, man, it just makes sense for this thing.
And you remember, I mean, when I think about stuff like that, I'm not a lyric guy fundamentally, so I remember that song.
And we can break down Stone Temple Pilots songs if you want. We can break them down.
Okay, but so let's speaking of lyrics though, this is something that's crazy. Is you've got a bunch of guys in Norma Jean that haven't been there near as long as you have. So, and they're a varying amount
rookies.
of
I'm just kidding.
John and Goose have been there longer, and then the newer guy that I don't even know is Philip, right?
Yeah, Philip.
Right. Am I getting this right? That even in the studio, when you're writing lyrics, you collaboratively write lyrics. First of all, with other people, and secondly, with people that have only been in the band for a short amount of time. That's unheard of, if that's true.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that those people fit within the collective. I've known Philip for, 15 years. Or I don't know if it's that long, but somewhere around there. Maybe longer, honestly.
How do you write lyrics with people? How do you do that? I mean, I weigh in on lyrics. I tweak lines. I say this is vague. I suggest stuff. Kind of a producer type.
Not everybody does it.
Collaborate on lyrics.
Not everybody does it, and on Polar Similar, people did it less. Okay. I wrote most of the lyrics, but the way you do it is you just walk up to them and say, "Hey, write some lyrics." And I really like it because you'll get one guy who will write a whole thing, and it's all like this thing. And I'm like, okay, I can work with that, and I can take things and move them around and do whatever. But then like John, for instance, will just write he'll just say out of nowhere, he'll be like, oh yeah, here's one, and then say it, and I'll write it down on my phone. It's just one line. But specifically, he wrote one of the lyrics in the chorus of "The Potter Has No Hands," which is on Wrongdoers. Mm-hmm. You used to live, now you just fertilize. He was like, I really like that. He didn't even know what it meant, and I was like, I'm gonna make that mean something.
It's almost,
and
it's
cool.
In something like it's almost avant-garde or abstract or something. There's some territory of expression that you're in. It's really interesting. And talking about Wrongdoers, that's another thing that I think is real interesting with these guys in the band. Some of them were in, or most of these guys did Wrongdoers as well as this album, right?
Yep.
But what am I picking up on from the documentary and from stuff that I've heard you say that?
Not me.
Okay. Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm getting, Cory, and I'll let you correct it or weigh
Go
in on
for
it.
it.
But I don't think this is a bad thing. But there's almost a tone of how much you like this new record, what Polar Similar is, and it sounds like the whole idea is, well, we've moved on from Wrongdoers. There's this undertone of you're unhappy with it or trying to be just distance yourself from what that was. I totally get that theme in the documentary. What's going on with that?
I'm going to try to give a short answer for it. Actually, when we were editing the documentary, and one of the reasons I'm on art direction in the credits for that is because I was giving tons of notes over and over and over for the documentary. But I had to go in and have them edit out some seemingly negative sounding things towards that record. But I think where that comes from is that we're always kind of trying to outdo ourselves. We're always trying to do something better, something different. And we're always going to base that on what we've done before. I mean, naturally, you're going to do that. We want to make it a better record. So in a sense, I kind of see it as a kind of a positive thing because we think very highly of that record, and we know that it was going to be hard to beat when we wrote it and when we recorded it and when we heard it for the first time.
So maybe you see it as like it was a high benchmark and thus almost an enemy to its.
And we smashed it.
Yeah, so
I think we
has
smashed
become
it.
your enemy now because
Yeah.
it's like your old record that you've got to beat, like your old Olympic record in the 100 meter that you now have to beat. Yeah.
I love that record. But here's the main thing that I'm getting at is that we had a lot of member changes right before that record. That's where the bulk of them happened.
Yeah.
That was Goose's first record. Right. That was John's first record. That was Jeff's first record. Even though those guys had been in the band for a couple of years at that point. And we went straight into writing it, but we didn't, like, as much as I've been friends with those guys for a long time, we didn't have artistic chemistry, which is a totally different thing. You have a friendship chemistry, but getting in a room and writing a record is a totally different thing. And so I kind of see Wrongdoers more or less as a sacrificial lamb. We needed to make that record so we could figure out how to make a record together. Yeah. And then once of course we wrote a whole record and we released it, but to us it was almost like, okay, that was great, good job, but we can do better. And we had our mindset for that a very long time ago that we needed to build that chemistry so we could make Polar Similar. So that's more or less what we're saying there. It might come off a little negative, but it's not necessarily negative. It's really just us trying to outdo it and
that makes sense.
Be better songwriters together.
Well, I'm gonna split the difference there and say that I get that you're trying to beat it and that you love it and all that, but on the other hand, I think there's probably a real element of having to go in with the new members and figure that out. It was not as satisfying of a process. It was like, how do we do this? Like that's something that's real, and I don't think that reflects negatively on the record, but it just happens to be the experience of the newer members is like, man, are they happy now? Being at that,
it's just
being at the studio you guys were at and the stuff you're doing now. I'm sure that was just a much better, right? Is that not been the best experience you've had being there? Gosh, was it Pachyderm Studio?
Pachyderm Studios is the best place in the world to record a record.
Yeah, if the listeners don't know, they did Nirvana and Utero at that studio, and there's that picture of Nirvana that I know sitting in front of that fireplace, and you guys have a picture sitting right there. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, super cool. I mean, I don't even know how to even start with that, but the place is magnificent.
Yeah,
it's kind of an old school vibe. it's like it kind of reminded me of like grandma's house, you know, kind of hollow and creepy sounding a little bit, or and just creepy looking in general.
So, Cory, speaking of the studio and that kind of thing, I would love to listen to some music from the new Norma Jean, and I've got some clips that I'd like to discuss from 100 Sons song Fractional. And,
cool.
And we'll talk about that here in a little bit, too. But really, the sound of the record, first of all, is great. So, you know, my compliments to what the record is and the way it sounds and everything like that. And also that you had the NPR feature. That was really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you get that? You're not the most NPR band out there.
No, it was definitely kind of out of the blue, but really, the PR that we hired to promote the record, we told them to look outside of the usual places that we always go to try to find somewhere that might not have, you know, usually pick up a heavy band or whatever. So NPR came along, they were stoked to do it, and they did. They released 1 Million Watts, which was the first single that we released.
Yeah, so I'll play a little clip from that. Okay, so when I'm listening to that clip, like, it is so heavy sounding, but it's got such a... you hear me good?
They started a new one.
Okay.
Yep, thanks.
Sorry.
No problem. When I'm listening to that clip, I'm just thinking, tell me if this is way off base, but to me, it feels like a super heavy version of like a hip-hop groove. I don't know if that's a thing that you think of often, but I find the genres sometimes related. But I mean, can you imagine this with a drum machine and some different, like, no heavy guitar, but just the bass line? I can just so imagine.
It's just a groove, man. Like,
it is a groove, right?
That's our favorite thing in the world is just a groove. Like, not so much like a breakdown or you know, but just like, I love that kind of like head bob kind of like.
That's what I'm asking, is in the internal language of the band, do you say we're looking for a groove?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to kind of, we like to kind of stay in that pocket, and then, you know, maybe we'll do some jagged stuff later with it or whatever. But for me anyway, that's one of the.
Let's stop on that word then. Tell me what you mean by jagged.
I mean, it's Norma Jean.
I'm interested in the nomenclature that a band will use, you know what I mean? Like, groove is breakdown, it's jagged, or is jagged chaotic? Is that the same way other people say chaotic?
I guess you could say it chaotic. I like to think of it more of like I say jagged because I don't want it to make sense sometimes. Like, I want it to, like a jagged edge, like, or you know, like almost like you're gonna fall off the cliff at any moment and you don't know it, but then you'll be in this other kind of place. So I know it's just a word we use to kind of like. So
would that reference,
you know,
let's say,
try to find something outside of the groove?
Odd time signatures would be jagged then.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
That's the next thing I want to talk about is how do you handle odd time signatures, especially as a singer? Like, I understand it. I'm a guitar player and I arrange stuff and drums and stuff, but I always feel like if I was just trying to sing on this, it actually would be really harder. So, like, here's a couple of clips where I hear you guys doing time signature stuff that I think is pretty bizarre. And I feel like, I'm curious, is it hard to learn do you have to go back and like learn the vocals and stuff like this?
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. That's badass for sure. And I just feel like, wait, you come in on 3? Like, what? How do you know what happens there?
No, it depends on the part. Like, for that one specifically, that riff is Jeff. Jeff wrote that part, and I had the lyric, which is, "You said love nothing, and nothing that you love can be used against you." And I was trying to start at this kind of spot, and at Pachyderm, there's the house where we all stayed in, and then you walk about 200 feet or so through the snow and up this staircase, and then you're at the studio. So I was kind of down there doing vocals, trying to figure out this part, And I finally just had to go get Jeff and say, hey, I need you to find the rhythm here for me to say this.
My exact question.
And he came in and he sat there and I was like, okay, I'm going to show you what I'm trying to do. And then you tell me if this works. And I tried to do it a couple of times and he's like, hold on. He kind of did this thing. And then he's like, try this. And he said, here's where 1 is. So try starting there. And then just say it all at once.
And that's basically what he keep going.
he's like, do those first 2 that you were doing. Cause I was doing, you said love nothing. And then I couldn't fit the rest in. The song would start and I couldn't fit it. So
yeah, that's my exact question is how does that actually work out in real life? Because when the time signature is weird, it just doesn't feel that good. Like it's one thing to count to 5 and 7 and then 6 and 8 on when you're playing guitar because you're kind of continually playing, but coming in and out. And as a vocalist, and a lot of I know you play guitar and write, but especially for people that don't, I think that's always got to be a frustration. It's like, well, couldn't you just put it in 4/4 or something? Here's another one. This one is from
it technically is that song, but that's a whole different thing.
This one is Synthetic Sun, and it's the same way. I feel like it's really interesting time signature wise, and where the vocals, like, where's the downbeat? Everybody pay attention.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. I don't hear that as a surprise. It's kind of a weird thing about when you write the song, you don't get that hear it for the first time feeling.
Right. Yeah.
That's the curse of being a songwriter. You don't get that. You don't get to hear the song like somebody who's never heard it.
No, you don't. But is there a part when other people are doing the music or writing and stuff where are you actually learning the measures and beats and talking about coming in on the upbeat of 2 and stuff like that? Is that a way you approach it, or do you just wait until you feel it and then you can sing it?
To me, it's more of a feeling thing. Like I'll think of the vocal part first usually, and I kind of know how I want to sing it, and then I'll fit the lyrics inside of that. Instead of writing down a bunch of lyrics and trying to fit them into a song, I feel like that comes across like forced. So it is a feeling thing to me. Like I usually just play the song over and over and over and just kind of just vibe out on it.
Instead of count.
Yeah. I just vibe on it and sing stuff in my head. And then I'll try to oh crap, there's something. And then what I'll usually do is I'll play it on my laptop and let the music come through. And then I'll sing it into my phone so it gets the audio from here. It's my little 4-track. I got a 2 whatever. That's coming through and I'm singing, da 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 da, just and I'll name it whatever song rhythm and then or vocal rhythm and then I'll just go back and
I like that. Yeah, I always feel like counting for vocalists is counter to a good performance. Like that's just not how you want to think. Trying to track or perform. Vocals is like counting beats and coming in on rhythms. That's just not. Vocals are the thing that are supposed to transcend the meter and the time signatures and tie it all together. So I think that's obviously the ideal way is to just wait until the odd, chaotic, or jagged part makes sense and then you feel it. So
yeah, for sure. I think the way we write everything is definitely more based on a feeling. Sometimes we'll even when we're writing something, we'll just go into something okay, we know a part, a song up to a certain section, and then we don't have anything else after that. We'll all kind of go into something to see what happens every time we play. Let's play up to that point and then keep writing. And we'll get to that point, and you'll just hear everyone just go into something else. Sometimes it's a joke. Sometimes it turns out to be something pretty cool. And we use it. So
totally.
Because you want it to kind of feel natural going into the next part, or maybe you don't. I don't know. It just kind of depends on the vibe that we're trying to go for that
you definitely song. Accomplish a lot. Norma Jean accomplishes some really out there vibes that are very unexpected and kind of stuff. Let me show you what I've identified as my favorite part so far of the new stuff that I've heard. This is from the what's the song about? Going to Andromeda. What is it? What's the song
Forever
called?
Hurtling Towards
Forever
Andromeda.
Hurtling
Yeah.
Toward Andromeda. Yeah, okay. So there's this part toward the end of that song, and I'm imagining there's a different vocalist there that's not you doing some yelling there, right?
Yeah, at the end of the song, Sean Ingram from Coalesce is on.
That's what I was wondering. Is one of the guys from the band? But that's what I picked out. I didn't notice it as him, but now that you say that, it makes sense. But I was wondering who's doing those. What badass is doing that?
Yeah, it's awesome, right?
I'm so glad that I picked out that it was somebody different. That's great. But sorry, I didn't actually nail who it was. I didn't know that.
It's all good.
The part right before that, just the music, what happens there, and then that part being not you singing, it's really awesome. I'll play it here.
Yeah. Yeah, and he thinks of something that I would never think of. Yeah, he sings on this upbeat kind of, he waits till the part ends and then sings like da 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 da. Like when we played that song live on He Is Legend, the tour we did with He Is Legend and Ravel Choir back in March, and that was the first song we played live from the record, and I had to do that part, and I was like, I don't know how it goes. Right. I'm listening to the song over and over, and he has this. He sees the song totally different than I do, and that's a cool thing about working with other people is you learn from them basically, and I like that. I like working with other people in a sense of not just like, oh, let's get a guest vocalist on. Like to me, it's more of a learning experience and trying to. I think you're never above reproach musically or artistically or with anything really. There's always more to learn, and that's something that we have always tried to, maintain in Norma Jean. We don't want to get to the point where we're just like, yeah, we know everything. We've been around for like 20 years, man. So you guys can suck it. Like we don't want to be like that. Like we always want to be like sponges to anyone that we've worked with or that walks in the room, like even so much so that there's just like friends hanging out, while we're practicing, like, and they can't help themselves, but they'll be like, man, it'd be so sick if you guys like did this. I listen to that person. I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, he's here.
Somebody that's just a buddy that maybe didn't even experience.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, I mean, why not? Let's try. Let's try that.
This theory that anybody could produce a record. If you know how producers at some point have good engineers and everything, so they're really there just for vision and stuff like that. If you had a good band, don't you think?
I like where this is going.
Okay, well, here's two ways that I think of it. I think on one hand, what if you just got a celebrity producer that didn't know anything about music? Let's say you got Brad Pitt or Michael Jordan to produce your record. How would that go? Like, and here's all you do is every time there's a decision to be made, you say, "Hey, Mike, what do you think?" And he goes, "This or that, or louder or soft." You know what I mean? Like you could have an untrained person, and it almost would be cool. Like you could have your.
I'm not hearing you.
You're not hearing me right now?
Sorry to the internet world, but. Okay, now I am.
Right now I'm good?
Yeah, it sounded like ping pong sounds.
Sorry if we're having some internet problems. But so imagine if you just had Michael Jordan, you're like, hey, Mike, should it be louder or softer? Which way should we go here? Should it be more aggressive or less? He could answer all those questions.
I like that. I didn't hear anything you were saying, and then you come back to Michael Jordan is producing
your record, right? And so he could just say, like, think of it this way: you could have all your wives. You could have your wife produce the record. You could just say, "Honey, should this part go longer, or should it be more aggressive or less?" Like you could get an untrained person.
You want to produce our record, babe? She's over there.
Yeah, she could do it. An untrained person could produce a record. That's my theory, and because they would be like you just said, it wouldn't be it's not a fan or somebody into it or somebody with technical knowledge, but you would have pure like, I don't even know what a double bass drum pedal is. It's just, oh, do that. Oh, yeah, that crazy thing. More of that. Or why don't?
Yeah.
That's a little obnoxious. That's hurting my ear. You know, just let their
I think
impulses
that would
guide
be,
every step of the record, and just have 2 or 3 badass engineers in the band, and just whenever they have opinions, do what they say. Wouldn't that be a good experiment?
I think it would be a fun experiment, and I think it would be a terrible record.
You don't think Brad Pitt's impulses could guide Norma Jean in a positive
No,
direction?
I don't think.
Oh, come on.
Brad Pitt. Come on, dude. There's so many. Because there's so much. Here's the thing about making a record that is kind of important is that you kind of need that nerdy guy to be there to know all that technical.
Not technical. We've got engineers.
Stuff.
We have the best engineers.
Oh, we
in
have
the
all the
world.
technical guys.
Yeah. So you're just getting, you know, Mike Tyson's opinion
Mike
on how
Tyson.
aggressive the verse is what I'm saying.
I'll try it. I'll try it.
Anyway, that's my.
I'll try anything twice.
Your idea of that, what you said, if somebody in the room is even just a buddy, has like, oh, I wish we could do that more. Just if I'm saying, take that impulse and make it. Listen to it for
Yeah.
real.
Let's do it.
because you get that untrained impulse. It might be valuable because it's not caught up in like cerebrally, like stuff you would.
Or you could do like a panel.
A panel would be a great one. Yeah.
A panel of
Yeah.
people.
Focus group.
Yeah, a focus group for each song.
Yeah.
And then you get rid of that group, and then you bring in the next
That's
group
right.
of
Now, that sounds too corporate,
hand-selected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's corporate. Let's just do it.
Data-driven approach.
Everything's going that direction anyway.
That's funny. All right, so
Jump
me,
in,
how
everybody.
about this one? This is a part on Synthetic Sun. I'll just play it, and then you walk me through whatever you'd be willing to divulge about how this gets the way it is.
I never got to have any dreams or ideals about my life. I turned 17. moved
Beautiful
out of my mom's house,
guitar
started
part,
working and got married.
by the way.
It just came straight from my mama's house.
And then the talking thing. Of course I'm curious what it is or how you chose it or stuff like that. But the part,
Yeah.
I love this part.
I'll tell you everything about it. That part kind of was one of those parts that we had kind of written the bulk of the song, and we got to the part where we wanted to do something, move on to the next part, and so we were just kind of building that guitar part as we went. So it was kind of made up in the room.
Did it start as a heavy part or the quiet part? Because you do this, then you go in and scream and do
Jeff
the same
had
part heavy. But which was original there?
Yeah, Jeff had the heavy part,
Okay.
and then we kind of figured out how to go around that. But in the studio, what you're hearing is they're actually playing with their fingers, so we could make sure that it was really, really tiny sounding. And we changed the amp sounds. If anybody that watches the documentary Luminaries, there's shots of the amp room, and you can just see what we were working with, just towers of amps, just a wall of death, and it was insane. It's insane. So we're constantly switching amps and changing tones and doing all this stuff. They're playing with their fingers, and then the sample is it kind of fits the theme of the song a little bit, but it's from a documentary called Rich Hill. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this.
No, that's
but
what I was curious about.
Whatever.
Is it something pulled from a movie, or did you record
It's
that?
it's from a documentary, and it's just I want to get into this kind of stuff because like where else is this question going to be answered? So might as well just be here, and that's cool. So, but yeah, and it's just an interview with this woman, and she has a bunch of kids running around. It's an insane mess in her house, and she's just from this really, really small town and she's just kind of talking about how she never had a chance to grow up. She had kids when she was 17, and she was thrown into adulthood. This is her words, and this is her saying that, and it kind of ends with her saying, "I never had any hopes. I never had any dreams," and that it's just a very sad thing to hear somebody say.
Yeah.
And me being a parent with 2 kids and still, living my dream of being in a band, I know that's possible. And it's very sad for me to think somebody that it feels like they're stuck in this small town. They're stuck in this life. And when, their life matters too.
Right.
You don't have to sacrifice everything just because you had kids.
I just always find that.
I said it.
No, it's good, and I appreciate you divulging that. But
I'm just being real. Your life matters too, and you deserve to be happy. So, that doesn't mean that she can go on tour if she's a single mom. But whatever you want to do, you can do it. I was a single dad for years, and luckily I had great family to help me out to be able to go on tour and play and stuff. And I was able to be in a band that could bring them on tour with me, several times and stuff. So I've been lucky in a lot of those places. But at the end of the day, I still pursued those things. Well, no matter what the circumstances were.
I think that's a really cool point of view and message, and I couldn't have picked that up without you telling me, so I appreciate that. You know what I mean? I can't. Yeah. I'm very slow on lyrics and content. I was trying to listen to what she was saying, and I was interested in how it worked musically and the texture of it. And I've heard movie quotes or film stuff or narration put in a lot of music before. Not a lot, but whenever I hear it, I just love. I'm telling you that I'm a sucker for that. I don't know why I haven't done it more often, but it's so interesting to get somebody. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's the opposite of a soundtrack, right? So you take scripts and lines and movies, and then you act it out and you do whatever, and then you add music to add some feeling to it or whatever. But when you do it, what you did is kind of the opposite of that. You build this music, and then you put some dramatic speaking or narration over it to color the soundtrack. You know what I mean? It's like, we'll put a little script. We'll put something from a movie on. That's a
cool
music.
I like the way you're seeing that. That's a very cool way to put it. And to us, it's. I don't know if we think about it that hard. We just know, kind of like that there is a space there, and the intention is to put something there, and this part comes along or this idea comes along. So we did that, and we do that a lot on Polar Similar. There's a lot of that. There's a couple of interludes that happen. There seems to be a lot of
interlude-y, like non-heavy stuff that's extreme on the other side, which is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, there's as Philly would say, peaks and valleys.
There you go.
And we were all worked, really hard together to make it. Sure. So it's just a really cool record that it comes from a long history of music and people, and I feel like we are exactly where we are supposed to be right now with the people that are here in what I call now the Norma Jean Collective.
The Norma Jean Collective, I like. Well, I love Norma Jean. Been a big fan, since forever. Awesome. But let's talk about 100 Sons. I'm way into that. That's a really interesting thing too.
Sure, man. Yeah.
So 100 Sons is your other or new, what do you call it, project? Your
sure.
Band project. The thing I don't like is when people refer to other stuff you do as side project. So I won't refer to it as that because it's a band, right? Like, I mean, it's your new thing.
For sure. It's consists of me, Legs from used to be in Every Time I Die, and Chris, who used to be in Dead and Divine. Amazing band from Canada that we've toured with before. So. He's really Chris is really kind of the founder of the band. Basically, we met on tour years ago. I think it was like 2012. I want to say, and we shared a bus with them on a European tour, and we became really good friends. And after that tour, Dead and Divine disbanded, and he was starting this new project. He started sending me riffs and. He sent me the very first song he ever sent me was Fractional. Cool. Which I think you have a clip of it.
Yeah, I got some stuff I want to talk about in that song specifically.
And he sent me that, and it blew my mind. It's like I knew.
Me what your first impression of it is, because I've just been exploring it recently. But tell me what you thought about it? What did you notice about the song?
Well, with Norma Jean, it's very thought out, and it's a very long process to write a record, and we put lots of time and energy into little things, and we put everything under a microscope. We record it again, and we keep doing that, and that's how Norma Jean functions. And I really like that process. We're always we get together and write in 2-week, 3-week blocks in this room.
Right.
So 100 Sons is a completely different thing. It's for the most part, Chris is writing riffs, putting a basic drum beat to it, sending it to me and Legs. And then we add on what we want and send it back. And we just keep doing that until a song happens. But the thing about it is there's not a whole lot of microscoping or whatever you want to call it, put on the songs. When it's so natural, it's so strange to me because I've never worked with anyone where I feel like I don't have to work that hard to know what I want to sing over it. It's like it was made for me to sing over. And that's one of the things that he will actually say is that he had my voice in mind when he was writing the songs, and which is one of the reasons why he wanted me to do it. And so that's kind of really a brief history of how it came to.
My observation of it is, I have many, but what's really interesting about it to me is what you get to do vocally, at least from what I've heard. There's some more singing to it, and I will concede also that the songs or this song Fractional is more of a standard song form, for instance, and stuff like that. And the music is here's my observation from the verse and the chorus of the song, and like I said, it's a little bit more of a traditional song. This is what I love about it is there's very little to no chord function. It's like one note, the low note, the tonic note of the key, and a badass groove and a rhythm. And I would think that would be harder to sing over or make something up over because it's not like this. It's not really a chord progression. And so I'm listening to the verse and the chorus, and it's just this like one-tone landscape where you get to go out there and sing over, and the groove's awesome and the notes are awesome, but you're out there exploring and doing a bunch of different stuff with your voice, which is very welcome to my ears.
That's what's so cool about it to me is that it does have this groove to it, and there's not like a bunch of, it's not like you said, a 4-chord progression kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's hard to do, by the way.
It is very
you have to
riff.
Be more confident to say, I don't need to change chords here. This is badass if I just leave it.
Right. To me, there's a dramatic thing that happens when you do that because you're playing more of a riff-oriented thing that's more of an open note thing, and maybe Chris does all this tapping stuff over it, which is really cool. But when you do hear that first other note, that big note that happens, that's it has this amazing explosion effect.
Well, let's listen to it a little bit.
And so I think that's one of the cool things that's different about 100 Sons.
So here's like the riff. I titled the clip "Riff No Chord" because it's not really a chord; it's just a riff. And that's your riff. 100 Sons. For you to color and stuff, and then when we get to the chorus, it's really the same. It's really the same bones, and then you get to just do the guitars are back, and it's slightly different approach on the fundamental same bones, and then you get to vocally actually stretch out here and make the part a whole different part. Vocally.
Yeah.
So.
If I find out you won't
basically what I'm doing there too is I'm just belting it.
It's all about the texture there,
yeah,
and not the notes and all this crazy melody or chords. It's amazing. It's emotion and texture.
And there's a totally different vocal range there and different notes that I'm using, and I'm just basically going an octave up from what I was doing on the verse, and well, not really, but he sent me that chorus. That was the first thing I heard, like a little bit of that riff and the chorus, and that was all. And I knew exactly, it just came to me immediately. I didn't have to go and like No, not that. No, not that. You know, I knew exactly, and it's been that since the first time I went and sang on it that day, and sent it back to him because I wanted to act on it really fast.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
If he's looking for a vocalist, I don't want him to find anybody else. I want to be that guy. So I had been looking for another project to do for a while. I had done this other band called the Radio Sky for a little bit, which I was playing guitar for that band, and I was doing a punk thing called Fears of Driving Force, and this just kind of fell into place, and it was that thing that I think I was really looking for, and it just so happened that Legs became available as well, and it fell into place like that. And I think it's really kind of cool.
That note on the top of that chorus, that's just like a treasure that you get to hit that spot in your range at that. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that the perfect spot to hit that belt note that you say? Or is it hard for you to sing, or do you like that? Because to me, it sounds like that thing where the singer gets to sing the note that feels so good. It happens to be in that key, and it happens to be the right spot to do it. Is that a comfortable note, or is that difficult for you?
That's the top of my range for sure.
But does that feel good to
there.
get to sing that, or is it like, oh crap, I got to sing that there?
To me, it's easier to sing that for sure than it is to sing the quieter stuff. Yeah. There's a lot more. You have to have a lot more control over your voice singing quieter, and make sure, like, even especially live, holding the mic is very important. How you hold your body is very important. So all these weird things come into play because your body is the instrument. And when I do belt something, it's like, it's okay. That can be one volume. I can hold it however I want. I don't have to try as hard. So, I guess you're right. I never really thought of it that way, like you're saying, but yeah, that is very relieving in a way, but it's still like belting kind of, as hard as I can.
What is your favorite, what is your favorite thing to do? What is what is the most comfortable thing for you to do in your voice? Is it the screaming or the screamy singing, or, easy, soft singing kind of stuff? You can do all those things. And you blend them better than let me do one aside here. In the long scope of vocals and vocalist, you're in a small category of people that can do this really aggressive blend of singing to screaming, control the pitch, keep it clean, keep it rough, and have that blend knob that you could go you can do 62% scream and still be singing another. That's a small range of people that, when you look back at all vocalists that employ and use that. So there's screamers, singers, people that yell, whatever. But your amount of blending in that range is a relatively small group.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like I have an ego about it or anything, but it's not like, the way I see it is just like any other instrument. Like, you play guitar enough, and I mean, you know this, you play guitar, and you play it long enough, and for as many years as we have, you figure stuff out. I mean, it's just like any instrument. You practice, you figure it out, you get good at it.
Yeah.
Now, vocalists don't like to say that kind of thing, but I'm not afraid to say it. I very much embrace being a vocalist as an instrument, and it's something that's how I look at it. So when you look at it that way, it's, I mean, Tyson will straight up come to your face and be like, yeah, I'm the best guitar player in the world. I mean, that dude knows what's up, and everybody knows it, and he knows it too. And, I don't think vocals should be any different for that. And I think vocalists should embrace that instrument.
There's a little bias against that. Vocalists there's not that consensus or braggadocious or quantifiable way to say this guy has the chops. It's just not in the way that guitar and drums have that. So that's interesting.
Yeah, there's a practice element to it. It's just like any instrument. It's not really any different at all, except that your body is that instrument. And so how you take care of yourself and the things that you do in the music fit. And also for me, I think there's an emotional part to it as well. And I think that I want to match that emotion in the music. I don't want to just be going, okay, here's my screaming stuff and here's my singing part, you know?
Yeah, the blend is what sticks out. And I think that might be one of the best compliments, or I hope you take it as a really good compliment.
I do, yeah,
good
thank you.
at what you do when you sound like you. Like, I never thought I sounded like, I was like, oh, Billy Corgan has a style. Or, these people have styles when I started learning guitar. And then after 15 years, I say, oh, I sound like me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it's not that what I can play and what I can't. It's that at this point I sound like me.
Right.
That's the best. That's all.
Embracing how you sound. Okay, anybody can relate to this. If you're not a vocalist specifically, you can relate to if you hear a recording of yourself talking, you usually hate it.
Right.
You're like, that's how I sound? Yes, that is how you sound. It absolutely is exactly what everyone hears when you start talking. There's an element for a vocalist that you embrace that, and you embrace how you sound. You don't try to sound like anyone else. And there's a lot of vocalists out there in some huge bands that you can tell like are not really truly being themselves, and they're going to the studio and they're doing all these studio tricks. It's like, just embrace it, be who you are, and sound like you're supposed to sound, and let that come out naturally. Because if you listen to Oh God, the Aftermath, and you listen to Polar Similar or 100 Suns, you will hear a completely different person. I did not know what I was doing on that record. Really, I just didn't. That's the truth. It took me some years to figure out how to really be a vocalist and embrace that instrument. Because the truth is, I never wanted to be a singer. It was just that in every band that I was in, I was the guy that could do it. So I just wanted to play guitar, man. That's the truth. I just wanted to play guitar, but I always ended up being the vocalist. And then with Norma Jean, I was just a vocalist. Yeah. And I play guitar and write. But, there was a point where I said, if I'm going to do this, then I need to do it right. Right. And I need to pay attention to it. And it needs to become, I'm a professional musician. I need to treat it like that. And so that is really where that comes from. And I try to, I'm not good for every band. I would not work well with a lot of music. I have a you're not going to be in Maroon 5 if they need it. Hell no. All right. Has that been broken up yet? I don't know. I'm just trying to think of something opposite sounding. You could probably try out for Rise Against though, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's bands you wouldn't. But, okay, here's one more clip from Fractional from 100 Suns that I thought was interesting. I just like the contrast there, because we were already doing singy stuff, and then you took it to this softer level than there had been before, just to set up the contrast of how aggressive that chorus was. But I just like to hear that really soft Cory singing there. I thought that was nice. That was welcome to me. It's being in 100 Suns and really being disconnected from the writing process has helped me tremendously in finding things like that in my voice. Things I never would have done with Norma Jean, right? Or anything else for that matter. And it's opened up a completely different world of finding things that I can do or want to do. And I think that will come through on future endeavors. Excellent. If you will. So I'm looking forward to hearing more of that 100 Suns. So the crowdfund is going now. That's the phase you're in there. Yes. And so you're getting about halfway done with the crowdfund, and you're about halfway to your goal. So I would love for everybody to give that a shot. You tell people to go to 100suns.com. 100suns.com for the crowdfund, and we're almost at 50%. When we get 50%, we are releasing a new song called Bed Burner, which there is a clip of that out there somewhere, and people can check it out, the clip of that song. But the full song will release, and all the Norma Jean info is normajeannoise.com. Normajeannoise.com is where you get that. You can find out about Polar Similar. Polar Similar is pre-order now and is out on September 9th, correct? That's it. Excellent. Okay. Did we get to any questions, Reva? Do we have any questions? Is it question time? We might not be caught up. We might not have any. I'll talk to Cory for a second. See if you could pull a question or two, if there are any in that feed. Okay. Well, you can still submit a question if you like. If you got one, we'll take that one question. I know we're getting close out of time, but I wanted to, being on Facebook, I didn't want to deny the interactive potential
element here. So if you've got one, let's hear it. All right, you were saying, Cory, you doing good? You enjoying this?
I'm doing great, man. I'm stoked.
Excellent.
This is cool stuff.
I really enjoy being able to, it's just great to be able to catch up with people and do this kind of thing in this way. I really enjoy it. I've gotten to where I'm doing it at night at my house, and I just love it so much. Like,
that's so
this
cool,
is what
man.
I'm
Yeah.
doing tonight. I got a beer. I'm talking to a friend.
There you go, buddy.
You know what I mean? Like, it's nice.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it.
It's fun, man, and you're really good at it too. I really like this format, and this is you're the only person doing it, as far as I know. So, super cool,
Well,
man.
I got a
Really
unique set of skills there. I mean, you know how it is when you get interviewed by somebody, and like I have a cheat in that I have some respect from the people I'm going to talk to because I'm in a band, so that helps. I have a good amount of experience in doing some broadcasting, and I'm a very technical guy, so I've been, I've just kind of taken hobby to it, like this video stuff and the technical stuff. And I have a music background and degree, and, so I've happened to have the right set of skills that I can do this comfortably.
You got a head start on it.
I got a head start on it, but I think everybody could and should do stuff like this. I think it's our job to figure out how to use our media channels that Facebook spends billions of dollars building infrastructure and algorithms to give people stuff they want, and they're just sitting there asking us make stuff.
Yeah.
And so I accept the challenge. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
We have
That's cool.
we have basically a cable access channel. Everybody does. You do, I do, everybody, and we remain off the air most of the time. Mm-hmm. So to me, I think of, let's put something on our channel. We've got to.
I'm scared. I'm scared, dude. I need you to guide me through it.
Well, that's kind of the idea. And same for me. I don't like going on my own channel and talking about me either. So it's great for me to be able to you got to co-create stuff with other people. That's kind of what it's all about.
Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Do we got a question? All right, here we go.
You hear me on here?
Yes. You hear Reva?
You hear me?
I do. Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, Zach asks, going into your 7th album, how do you make your set list to satisfy both your older fans to show off your new album?
Oh
Yeah,
my
7
gosh.
albums is you've got 120 published songs at this point. How do you make a set list?
Zach nailed it just now, and that was already a problem.
Yeah.
We pretty much had the rule of we want to at least try to play 2 songs from every record, but after Wrongdoers, we were like, oh my God, we're making medleys. So,
2 songs for every record is 14 song set, and you don't always doing 14 songs.
If you wanted to hear the whole song, but that song is, we were idiots and wrote a 7-minute song. We can't play that whole song, especially if we have 30 minutes, on a support tour.
Mm-hmm. What can you do?
I can't play 4 songs. Like, I want to try to fit something in there for everyone, but we will do it. And it'll be cool. And yeah, we're going to play some medleys to fit some older stuff in there, but we're always going to play something from every single record since the beginning of this band. So we will do it and make it work.
It's a weird thing because you do your first record. When you're touring your first record, you've got to play the whole, you play 8-song set and you play almost every song or every song on your record. It's the only record you got. And then after that, it dilutes into the point where you're making 3rd, 4th, 5th record, and you're going in there going, shit, we're probably never going to play most of these songs. That's just the reality.
It makes it hard, and we want to play something off every single record. So, but I think the thing that we're getting to now is it's like we want to try to find the quality of the show, because look, when we're playing a live show, that isn't just for us. Mm-hmm. That is for every single person that used their hard-earned money. They worked 9 to 5 or whatever they worked that week to buy a ticket to come see our dumb band. So if people are doing that, we want to make sure that we're putting on a good show. And this goes for 100 Sons too. Both Norma Jean and 100 Sons. We want to make sure that we're putting out something that rules. So I think I would like to expand on that a little bit and try to find the songs that people really want to hear. Because we can't just go through our career playing all the hits all the time. I feel like
that's the other problem. What we're gonna do? Go do greatest hits tours? Like that feels dumb too.
Yeah. So it's getting to the point where we're like, hey, let's just pick the songs that we think will be fun to play from every record, and maybe sometimes the hits, maybe it isn't. And so we kind of find ourselves asking fans what they want to hear, and that to us is way more important than than what we want to hear, because we're gonna dig whatever we play. So
or counterpoint, from my point of view, we're gonna get sick of whatever we play.
That's gonna happen no matter what. By the end of the tour, you'll be like, so sick of that song. Totally. But we're still gonna play it with all the passion and every blood, sweat, and tear in our body. So don't worry about it.
Well, I'm glad we could get a question in there. That's all. We're good on where are we at? We're probably good on time and questions for this. So, right? Yeah. I'm enjoying this a ton, Cory. So the theme to me is that you guys have had the longevity. You've figured out how to make it work, to be collaborative, to keep control and forfeit control to other people. It's really interesting, and almost feels like you've outlasted. Like, maybe it's that kind of thing where, let's think about it this way. A lot of bands didn't make it. They were great. They had a great first record or second record, but then the bands that do make it or last, there's less competition genre-wise and nostalgia-wise and everything else. You know what I mean? Like, it's maybe like we starved out the competition and we're still here,
Well, I think I have to definitely give all the credit to our fans that have stuck around and dug the music that we're making. Because I know that, like we were talking about earlier, when we were kind of booking limbo and management limbo and record label limbo, we were booking our tours, we were promoting ourselves completely and funding the band completely. So, during that time, I was posting on Facebook like, hey, where do you guys want us to come? And we ended up playing like some really small towns and some places we'd never been before. And people came out and we packed out those shows. And it was just us and local bands. Yeah. And it was so sick. And, I just said, hey, get the bands that you guys think are cool. And those bands went out and worked their butts off to promote those shows. And it's so hard to keep up, and like, I want to like pay back all those bands for promoting our shows for us, but there's so many of them. It's insane. But it really does come down to our fans, like sticking around and coming to see our shows and buying our records.
But you're the surviving, and now you reaping the benefits. Let me put it this way. I'll make it. Okay, so think about all the beloved and As Cities Burn first record fans and Under Oath fans. They're not, they like those bands, but you still exist. So they're coming. You're not competing with them anymore. And like, think about other genres. Like, who's in our genres like Silverstein and Emery. I mean, who else are you going to go see screamy stuff like we do? There's not that many left. So we get all the fans. Or think about ska. You've got Less Than Jake or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's a few bands that are there, but there used to be 10 million bands like Less Than Jake. Those bastards are still here.
Yeah, I personally sabotaged all those bands you just named off. I went to their towns and spread rumors, and it's my fault.
No, it's not a slight on them, but you did push through some harder times. Like, there'd have been times that would have been easy to quit. Between here, I've
been trying to talk one of the members of the band to sell their soul to the devil. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do it.
No, not me, but just some other band member. Yeah, totally.
I'm going to heaven, y'all. Right. But one of y'all do it for the band.
Yeah, it would be
so we can keep going.
Yeah. How long can you do this reasonably though? I mean, have you crossed the threshold where it's a life thing? Or, I mean, is it?
I don't know.
Is playing at 40 no longer a big deal than 50? I mean, what's the deal?
I think I like this quote from, this kind of sucks that I can't name the guy that said it specifically, but it's on the Clutch documentary. I love the band Clutch.
I saw them in 98.
Oh man, they're still killing it. They're still such a good band. And, they have a documentary, and one of the guys says, I'm going to do this till I die or get rich.
That's good. I like that.
I was like, yeah. And when I get super rich and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do something else now.
Yeah.
But, what I think he's saying there is I love it too much to stop. And it's at this point, it's still a relevant thing to me, and it's still my livelihood, and it's still something that I wake up every day and I think about. I don't have any days off. I get up and I work for Norma Jean or 100 Sons. I work for that music, and I want it to succeed, and I want it to have longevity. So as long as I'm feeling like that, and I can walk around and jump around on stage and be an idiot and scream and sing and all that stuff, I'm going to keep doing it.
I mean, you think you could do it at 50?
Totally.
Norma Jean, not just
yeah.
music.
Yes, I do think I could do it at 50 because I'm 40 now.
You are
and that's
40 now?
only
Toby's 40 now, yeah.
And that's only 10 years from now.
Right.
So
and you would have never
I
thought
feel
40
pretty good
when you were 30, really. And so if you can hit 40, well, how are you not going to hit 50,
I feel pretty good, and I have to give it up to my parents for good genetics.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm healthy, and I feel good, and everything. I mean, I feel like I've gotten better as a vocalist and as a songwriter and a musician in general. So, I'm going to keep doing it. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it at 50, but at this point, now is what matters, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to do Polar Similar, and we'll see what happens.
Hell yeah. Cory, I appreciate it very much. This has been great. Thank you for letting us be on your channel here for Facebook. This is the Break It Down podcast. My name's Matt Carter from Emery. And if you're new to this, if you're just catching on to it, go to iTunes, subscribe to it. Go to breakitdownpodcast.net.
Do it.